think we've gotten good at moving on, but not healing.
It really does show that a large majority of us are desensitized to tragedy, or desensitized to other people's humanity.
The world hated me.
Yeah, it's going to hate you.
And it's going to hate you. And the response is not to shrink back.
It's to pray for boldness. Maybe
sometimes it's a privilege to be tired.
It is. Oh, for sure.
Ask God to refill you, but do it around other people.
Yeah.
And don't isolate yourself.
And because we have to step back and realize it's my life for the gospel, not the gospel for my life.
God has called you to something. Even if it's hard, it's way more beneficial for you to follow what he has for you than to follow what you want. And we're back.
We're back.
Ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
Come on, somebody.
Let's go.
What a week.
Yeah, heavy week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those things where it's like, you got to acknowledge it, right? Because
yes.
this is, I was thinking, it's super random, but I was thinking, because I was watching something on the news and someone said something, but I was like, I remember for me, when I was 10 years old when 9/11 happened, and that was such a defining moment, right? And as a kid at that moment, I didn't really realize what was the importance of
impact,
it, right? But it changed everything for me as a childhood.
Yep, taught in history books now.
And exactly, right? And it kind of dawned on me this week of late in the week, I was like, I wonder if this is one of those moments, again, kind of even in it, even as an adult, that I'm like, oh wow, this will be. I feel like this could be one of those things. Someone always asks you, where were you when? Or what was? Do you remember what happened on this? And it feels like, oh man, this has that level. At least in the moment, it feels like it has that level of just weightiness to it. And I think it just is acknowledging it and acknowledging, obviously, for Christian perspectives, has a lot of impacts a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when you this is a first kind of. I want to be careful because I'm trying to go through my head real quick. This might be the first, because Charlie Kirk was not only a political figure, he's a religious figure.
Right.
And this might be the first assassination of a religious figure in a very long time. I mean, because Dr. King was a religious figure.
Right.
But also civil rights, you know, for sure. And you kind of even almost more so on that, although that was very intertwined between the church and the civil rights thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty wild.
And just obviously with it, social media and all the stuff that happens.
The first one where you got to see it right afterwards. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't see it.
And it's also I think just a good reminder, or just a good, I think it's just a good highlight of we as people, I don't think we're not really wired.
We're not.
To watch, endure, experience that type of trauma. I think in a sad way, I think we've gotten so maybe used to it.
We've gotten used to it a bit, yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I don't think a therapist I listen to all the time, he says your body keeps the score.
Yes.
And so I just, I wonder, again, all the things that are going on in the world and our body, depression, all these other things, and we're wearing these things and we're pretending like it's normal, and it's not.
It's not.
It's really not.
I mean, you see the level, we see, the level of anxiety has gone up in so many people, and we can say, well, that's, social media and people, and it is, because you're seeing all of these things take place real time, and I said this, a few years ago in a message, that we are the most like God as far as being able to know what's happening almost everywhere all the time than ever before.
Right.
And that's all of the tragedies, and how fast we move on from tragedy now is not okay.
Yeah.
And that, I remember in 2011 with the tsunami in Japan, it was there one week and then everyone just forgot, gone the next.
Right.
Or the fires in Malibu.
Right.
They still haven't rebuilt, but we don't hear anything about it anymore.
Don't even think about it anymore. Yeah.
Don't even think about it anymore unless you're from
unless
that
you're
community,
there. Yeah, for sure.
There. Same thing in Maui, with those fires, all of these tragedies and all of these hardships, and we aren't built for that.
Yeah.
We're not, we can't shoulder that. We can maybe take a couple tragedies at a time. And COVID was a massive highlight for that, with everything that took place during the different deaths, and George Floyd and all of these, and then all the emotions that come with it, and all the stuff that people say about certain things. And then that was, people had a hard time through that. And then we look at this last week, and the exact same thing, man.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. And we really, we're not built for
I think we've gotten good at moving on, but not healing.
Yeah. Oh,
And so it's like, like, again, you move on to the next week, you got work and school and all the things the next day. You're still, all the things that you have to handle. So you kind of, your body, your brain learns to kind of compartmentalize. But again, not really as people. I don't think God has designed us physically, emotionally, and spiritually to endure those things. And I think I'm so proud of Rhythm, love that you're my pastor and be underneath you. I think the way that we handled that this weekend as a church, was really good. I think obviously, I even caught myself, the day of you go on social media and this, that, and the other. But I think our first response needs to be is prayer. Yes. Right. Yeah. And then also too, like coming together as a church, coming together as believers, because iron sharpens iron, and you can learn to grieve together and be frustrated and say all 100%. But to do that together versus isolation, to be in prayer, to look to God's word for how we respond or how we, what we can learn, what we can see about God's character and God's nature, and how we as believers are supposed to respond. I think that was, again, I was really just proud of our church. And I think also too, obviously I'm not plugged in everywhere, but from what I observed, I felt like the church, the at least American church. Yeah,
capital C church.
Yeah. I think the response, this week was that, right? To pray, to not get angry. Not saying not to get angry, but our response is to be in prayer.
Be in prayer, not, be there for people. Yeah.
And to lift up each other, pray for those who are hurting. And then seek God's word, seek God's face,
Understanding Jesus is the answer.
And I think if we could learn to do that more, like because tragedies are not going to stop.
No, they're not.
No. And so it's like learning how to deal with that. I think is really important.
Well, when you look at the response all across the board of, especially when it came to the assassination, and how some were mourning, some were grieved, some celebrated.
Yeah, that's
just wild to me. And just the opposite of, just the opposite spectrum that people would kind of stand on. The whole, I don't know, the arguments that were brought up. It really does show that a large majority of us are desensitized to tragedy, are desensitized to other people's humanity. And it's kind of like what I talked about last week, right? Like we're okay with idols and okay with sin more now than ever before. Yeah. And the fact that you can see somebody murdered and go, well, they kind of deserved it because of their political views. Yeah. Or their religious views.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's a scary place.
It's a scary place, man. It's a scary place.
Well, I think it's, again, I know we spend the whole time talking about this, but I do think something that you said it was in the prayer that we did in our services. I think you did in one of them. I'm not sure if you said all of them, but and I saw a stat that kind of backed this up. But how much of it is really generational? And there is I feel there is such a strong correlation in, we always say stuff like, this generation is most biblically literate, right, and things of that nature. And so we've removed God, right? Illiterate, and how much we remove God, remove the Bible and faith from a generation, and it has effects, and I think, again, I don't want to like oversimplify it, but I think one of the effects that we see is just a disregard for human life, a disregard for people, it's sad, and I think that like you said we prayed this in one of the services, but I think we have to do so much. We have to be, as a church, so on guard and so vigilant for the younger generation and for our youth, because they are under an attack and under just circumstances, that is different. And I think every generation has their own thing, and there is hardship in every generation. Yes, but there is a uniqueness that I think this generation does face with social media and all the screens, just all the things, they're so desensitized in such of a crazy way, and I just find it sad, really, that I saw a stat that the people, the approval ratings, approval percentage for political violence per generation, and so it was like baby boomers, so like, political violence is not, like, over 90% of them said not acceptable,
Sure,
and it was
right.
like, kind of all the way down the line, and then down to Gen Z, which was like 50%. That said that they in some instances political violence is okay, right? And so you just see that kind of down the line, and you just go, oh man, they are experiencing spiritual, and emotional, and even physical attacks differently than maybe than some of us who grew up with it, with just a different world.
It's a different world. I mean, if you look at the boomers, what they grew up with, right? They grew up with John F. Kennedy being assassinated. Mm-hmm. They grew up with Martin Luther King being assassinated.
And what I just, not to cut you off, but there was a point I saw that the video of JFK getting assassinated didn't come out till like decades later.
Oh,
like you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there was a TV broadcast, but like it wasn't like you saw.
They didn't get to replay it over and over and over.
It wasn't the same, right? And so even them going through that was different than what we just went through, which is wild, right?
Yeah. And then Kennedy's other brother was
Robert.
Robert was killed, and like for them, they saw the horror of it, and Vietnam being on the screens every night, you know. Mm-hmm. They saw that horror, and so for them, they're like, "No, it's not. It's not okay." And then you have a generation like Gen Z, who is also like on the other spectrum, is experiencing like revival right now. Mm-hmm. They're coming to the Lord in droves, partly because of voices like Charlie Kirk, and partly because of, like you have all like some young influencers who are legit, who aren't just weird TikTok preachers, being vocal about their faith. We're seeing that happen, but they've grown up with a different level of seeing violence all the time. Whether it was on their video games, it's on every different movies, shows. It shows there's Instagram pages that show people dying just all the time, so for them, accidents everywhere. So there is I think a level of like being desensitized to it, but at the same time, the human soul and our condition, we can't handle that. And when it's real and it's in your face and it's like real,
right?
People saw it on Instagram, it hit me hard. Yeah. You remember our meeting, we were like, what do we do? What do we say? So we just prayed, but for those who are used to seeing it on the screen and not having it be real, it becomes easier to divorce yourself from the humanity of the person. Totally. And honestly, like when we look at where our nation's at now, it is bad, but it is not nearly as bad as it was in the first century Roman Empire.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
people I think conflate the two, or there is persecution that happens today, but I think people will conflate the two. But it's not. I mean, if you look at it just in context and from historical context, the persecution that the early church, the first century church, was dealing with, was a type of persecution that is, it was real. Like your life, not just a few people, not just the most outspoken people, but for you standing up for your faith, you were putting your life, your family's life on the line.
And so like as we transition and segue, just kind of another thing too, like because of it's not so Charlie Kirk's assassination, someone who's bold for his faith, vocal about biblical values, all of that. There's a lot of unpublicized. He had death threats all the time.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere he went. So he knew each and every time that he got up to take a microphone or to set up an event or whatever it might be, that there is risk of death there.
Sure.
And because of, what he stood for. And I don't think a lot of pastors even think about that. And some pastors get death threats for sure.
Sure. Especially larger the platform.
Yeah, larger the platform. Yeah. Exactly. 100%. So, so knowing that, but still willing to take that risk, not for fame or for fortune, but because you believe in the message that you're proclaiming, is very, I think I would be interested to see, because again, people are politicizing it, of course, because he was a political figure.
Sure.
but it goes beyond it. It goes into like faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like one of the first people of faith, like I talked about just a second ago, to lose their lives in front of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder where do we go from here? One, I mean, today churches were packed all across the country. Ours was packed. God's moving. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, again, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Because we think America's bad, but like we just said, the Roman Empire was wild.
Right.
As far as not just even, as far as morality stuff's concerned, like we talked about, like Paul goes into Corinth,
Yeah.
In Acts 18. And the Roman Empire in general, again, being a history, buff and major, we're not yet in our nation to the point, and I say not yet because who knows? If you look at our trajectory, where we're killing people in coliseums for show,
Right.
where we're having gladiators fight each other to the death in front of everybody,
Or you're crucifying people.
We're not crucifying people
Right.
outside of, like our city. There's not like, we're not, or like you study the martyrs. Dear Lord, they're burned at the stake in front of everybody.
Right. All of the apostles minus Peter, minus John
Yeah.
were martyred for the faith.
Yeah, they were martyred for the beheaded. Peter crucified upside
And
down.
even John was.
Yeah,
They tried
John
to get him
boiled in oil,
they
bro.
tried to get him.
At that point,
That's
I'm
one of those
like,
ones.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It feels like it's just.
Do I want to keep going after that?
Just come get me, Lord. Yeah.
Dear God.
Right.
And that's like, but that's the gospel that isn't really preached. And I hit it again a couple weeks ago. That like persecution. It's like we got prosperity gospel, poverty gospel, but there's the persecution gospel,
Right.
which we are like, it's going to be a part of it.
Right.
And it's the rare instance that we read about today where there is like a complete protection.
Mm. Right.
Where there's a complete protection.
Yeah.
But most of the time, man, like it's going to cost you.
And I think going back to Jesus' words on this, right? Mm-hmm. Something I don't think we don't teach often. It's not a very fun message to teach, but he does say to his disciples, the world hated me.
Yeah, it's going to hate you.
And it's going to hate you.
Yep.
And so, yes, maybe at this yes, there is, maybe we're not first century Rome, but there might be times where your family or, your coworkers or whatever the case might be, by standing up and being bold, you might not be invited to certain things, or they might call you names, or they might send me, unkind things in the group chat.
Yeah.
But
or just quit talking to you.
Quit talking to you. Yeah, absolutely. But again, what I loved, what we talked about a little bit, again in your prayer and whatnot this morning, but it's what our response is. Yeah. And our response is not to shrink back.
It's to pray for boldness.
It's to pray for boldness.
Yep. Yeah. It's to pray for boldness, and that's where I think we need to go. Is we need to be bold, because we're in it, man. Yeah. Like I talked about Corinth today, it being one of of course the capital of Greece and Rome, the capital of Greece, the province of Greece in the Roman Empire. And it was a gnarly city.
Yeah.
You had you had a port, a harbor on the east and on the west.
Yeah.
People would actually take their ships out of the water and carry it across like the stone road. I forget what the road's called, so that they wouldn't have to like go around the tip of Greece, because it could get crazy and weather and storms and whatnot. So you have like a society. If you've ever walked around New York, like it's crazy. It's hustling. It's bustling. There's all sorts of things happening. You got, people like, smoking weed over there. You've got, people just chilling, businessmen walking by. And then you go to like you go, wow, there's so much happening here. But then you have Corinth but times the immorality times like 100,
right,
from what we even see in those things, where it's not just prostitutes hanging out, but you have temple prostitutes. So not only like today, people are more okay with people being into porn than ever before.
Right,
like people talk about it and
they
don't care.
Yeah.
But like imagine though people just being okay with prostitution like never before, and seeing it almost as your duty, as you have to worship Aphrodite, so you got to get down there and hook up with a prostitute and call it good. And
yeah, it's not that yet.
Yeah, we're not
crazy,
there yet.
But
that was it. And like, man, there's money everywhere because it is a port city. And then of course, with money comes greed. With greed comes crime. People are used as objects. It's all like, and Paul, I just, for us to imagine, like, and Paul walks into this and he's tired, he's beaten up, all of it. And he goes, all right, this is where we're going to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And, the level of, again, knowing, because from the message, like the Lord comes and, talks about him being tired. We know, reading through Corinthians, that he says, I came to you in weakness and fear and trembling.
Right.
That he was like, that's where he was, man.
Yeah.
But he still decides to like stay and dig in and go for it.
It's been interesting too. I've loved that. I've never put that together before. But as you obviously, you look at these chapters kind of in line, and then last week we talked about what he's writing to Corinth.
Yeah,
and so it's just interesting to see how those have correlated to where now the language that he's using to the Corinth church kind of comes alive of like, oh wow,
yeah,
like they were seeing him, they were seeing Paul in such a, just a different light than I think. So some of that language where you just kind of like, oh, why does Paul use that language of, I came to you, I was tired. I was like, oh no, he was.
Because he
was.
You
just saw, like, you just seen it. Like, he didn't have, how we say it,
wise and
persuasive words. Like, and you just go, oh, that's been really just interesting to see that kind of
put it together.
Yeah, for sure.
And then while he's in Corinth, he writes to the church in Thessalonica.
Yeah.
So everywhere he's going, like, he's still got the other churches in mind.
Right.
So again, think about that. The weight, where does he say it? He goes, and above all else, I still carry the weight of the churches. I wish I had that verse on lock right now, because not only is he plowing ahead in a extremely hostile environment, he's thinking about the churches that he's just planted.
Right.
Well, maybe I'll try to work this into the next message, because he does go back and strengthen some of the disciples in some of these cities. But not only and so he's got the church in front of him, and he's got, how are the Thessalonians doing? I got to make sure I'm writing and encouraging them, and helping instruct them and where they're going, and I kind of in a way, it speaks to us being kind to our leaders, to understand that I think sometimes people with ministry roles, we can downplay. Like, I've had people go like, so what do you do the rest of the week?
Right. So
you got Sunday, what do you do the rest of the week?
Right.
Like, I just nothing.
Yeah.
I golf and I hang out, but like, there's a weight that we experience, and I believe the Lord allows us to experience, because the weight means that we care, and we have to care. The ultimate weight is not on us, it's on him.
Totally.
And I got actually kind of a wild story about that. But so thinking about, like, a lot of pastors out there, they drastically care about their church. They care about their staff. They care about all this stuff. And then you have something that takes place in culture and society, and now we have to say something about it. And we should, and not, you don't have to say everything about everything, but like, there's certain things that you should address and should go for. Yeah. And that's a weight, because that as you say that, 3 people are going to applaud you, and 1 or 2 are going to be like, why did you, like, what was that about? Dude?
Yeah.
You're going to have your critics, and critical voices usually tend to stand out. It's so funny how many people are like, well, I just don't want you to get a big head. Don't worry about me getting a big head. Because I'm not going to like I beat myself up more than you even know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, well, I just want to keep you humble, George.
Yeah.
Like, man, George keeps himself humble. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
We need encouragement. We need to be strengthened. The Lord, like, the Bible doesn't say, make sure you humble your pastors.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, it says, share with them in everything, because of the good that they do for you. So, which was one of those things that Paul had with the Corinthian church, is they came after him. They came after him, and eventually, again, they're reconciled. But I mean, man, he's there, and he's thinking about the Corinthian church, and he's thinking about, and then he goes, I think when he's in Ephesus, he actually writes back to the Corinthian church. But anyways, all that to say, like, there is a weight that he was carrying. He leaves Athens And I know we talked about it last week, but he's either feeling like, okay, I cleared that, that's good, or he's feeling like a failure, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, of like, man, there's only a few got saved.
Yeah.
And man, I preached my heart out.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was in Athens and I was by myself waiting for Timothy, Silas, and like the homies to show up, and they didn't get there in time.
Right.
And now here I am in Corinth. Luckily, I found Priscilla and Aquila.
Right.
And then let's roll. So
it's so interesting because like I almost mirror it to today, right? Like you said, I think we look at pastors or just even leaders, and really in any spectrum, we almost kind of dehumanize them, right?
Yeah.
We just think about them for their skill set or whatever the case is. And kind of the same way in the Bible, like you forget that like Paul's a person.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, like you don't think that after maybe a bad sermon or whatever, bad talk, that he wouldn't emotionally like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we just think about him as like the Apostle Paul, and he wrote
he's
all this
hardcore,
New Testament. He's hard, and it's like that doesn't mean that he's not human and doesn't have ups and downs, insecurities, frustrations. That he even talks about the thorn in his flesh, physical ailments, whatever they might be, and like I just find it interesting that we rarely. I think we don't look at people sometimes as people,
right?
Who have platforms, who have leadership or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And to your point, like we love keeping them humble or whatever the case is, or anytime they make a mistake, remind them of a mistake. It's like, man, this person is exposed more. You know what I mean? Like I think about like all the mistakes I make, and like what if someone was watching me at all times? I mean, and I'm a pastor on here, but like, even for me, like I walk around people, I'm like, they don't really know who I am. That's fine. Now I'm on the podcast, people like acknowledge me more. Right, yeah. But like, right. But like, being on the platform, being on the stage, like you're every fault that you have, of course, you as your own self are examining that, but also you're aware that people are, got eyes on.
And again, think about this. Paul's sacrifices for the church of Corinth for a year and a half is there, is teaching, is loving, is doing all the different things. And then he's hearing in his absence that they say he's unimpressive, or they say he's not one of the super apostles. Because Peter rolls through and some of this stuff, and they're like, oh, these, and now there's that comparison. And today, I mean, you can listen to some of the greatest communicators on planet Earth,
right? At the
drop of the hat, that literally all they have to do is preach and teach. They don't have to lead anywhere. They don't have to do anything.
Right.
They get to teach the same sermon over and over because they're traveling, whatever it might be. And then we look at them and they're like, oh, wow, I wish my pastor was like them.
Yeah.
And, or I wish you're like, and it's like, that can be devastating for a local pastor to be like, yeah, the message would have been better, but I had 3 hospital visits this week.
Right.
I had to deal with, this and this fire that I had to put out. One of our staff members just had a moral failure that I'm now having to backfill. And you're like, yeah, sorry, the message wasn't on fire.
Yeah.
So have a heart.
Or even too, just like comparing people's gifts. It's like, okay, God has given that person an ability to teach, and that it's great, and He's also given your local pastor ability to teach, and there's a difference. You're leading your local flock.
Yes,
and so
you're I'm not doing a conference message every weekend.
Yeah,
I'm pastoring a church.
Yeah, and so it's just I just think that like again. Imagine if the pastor was like, and that church gave more. They started comparing church congregations, and that church's attendance was you know what I mean? Like you'd be like, that's not cool. No. And yet, like you said, I think it's a very interesting kind of thought and rabbit trail to go down. But I just think, again, looking at, and again, you said it kind of at the end of the message, but like God. It was concerned with Paul, not just as the apostle, but him as a person. And I think, again, we as people almost opposite, right? Like we look at the outside and forget or just don't always think of and examine the person inside. And
the weight that they carry, the personal, that's the other thing too. This is interesting that we're kind of going down this road. Like people, we can look at somebody, especially if they're on our platform or of any kind of like, not notoriety is the wrong thing, but anyways, yeah, like, I mean, they stand in front of people, they whatever it might be, and forget that they have a personal life, that they have their struggles, they have hardships they're going through.
Yeah.
They have, because they don't want to bleed on their congregation, they're not letting them know about the crazy things that are taking place in their family, or what they just. And I mean, I've had to preach on a Sunday when I just did not want to,
right?
Where I had nothing in me,
right?
Because of what was taking place in our lives as family or whatever it might be. And just, again, praise the Lord, because he sustains us within those times. But and then on top of it, they're wearing a lot of the problems of the people, because, and as we should, God's given us grace for it, but like, they're going to let you know about their hardship, their trials, their stuff.
Right.
And then they're going to judge you or not judge you because this tragedy just happened in the world. Are you going to say anything about it?
Yeah.
What are we going to take up a special?
It's been 3 hours. Why would you say anything?
Yeah.
Just like, oh,
like going to do something. Yeah. Like we kind of back to the Charlie Kirk thing. We didn't post right off the bat. I'd gotten a text about like, hey, should we post? I think it was like an hour or two after he'd passed.
Right.
I was like, we need to process this before we just put something out.
Right.
Because we're not going to put something disingenuous out because we feel the pressure to.
Right.
Let us think through, pray through. And then I remember later that afternoon or that evening, I was like, all right, yeah, we should post.
Yeah.
And kind of like really thinking through about it.
Yeah.
As opposed to that, but that's that pressure, dude. And then I remember, story. I remember it was kind of when we're coming out of COVID, which, dear God, what a wild season to try to lead through.
So I blocked that from my memory.
Oh my gosh, dude. Exactly. PTSD. Like, masks, no masks. Are you going to say something about this death or this person or this thing? Is there riots? What are you going to like? And I remember I was at a kind of like, was that kind of a retreat thing? It wasn't really a retreat. It was like a pastor's gathering. And I was in worship. And again, there was personal things going on within our family. And I was like, I feel a little bit like Paul, just kind of weak and weary, but our church was still successful and, God is still moving. But again, feeling the weight of it all. And I said, in a time of worship with the Lord, I said, well, I guess this is it. Like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And the Lord was like, you don't wear the crown, I do.
Yes. Come on now.
And I was like, oh, like it was like this.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
real-time spanking.
Yeah. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, Lord. You wear the crown. And I think it's a grace. This sounds weird, but I think it's a grace that he allows us to feel some of that weight. Because I don't know if as many of us pastors would actually take things as seriously if it was always just so light. Yeah. Understand there is a weight that we carry, that we are, like I talked about, we're watchmen on the wall. Yeah. And that if we're not proclaiming the truth of God's word, if we're not proclaiming the gospel, then we are responsible. Yeah. For the blood is on our hands. Yeah. He's called us to be a mouthpiece, and so we'd better do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, I'm interested. We talk kind of a little bit about even just maybe off that same theme of being tired.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's such a as I'm speaking more or whatever. I've seen you do this so well. You get up in front of a room, hundreds of people in the room, and in that room can be someone who's just had literally the best week of their life. Right. They're on the mountaintop, and then there can be someone in that room who is just. Yeah. At the end of the rope, right? And so I think just that awareness, right, as you speak to people, that there are people that's just the season they're in, right? Sure. There are seasons, there's rhythms of everyone's life, and so you're not speaking to a monolith. You're speaking to people. Whenever you speak, you're going to be speaking to people who are in a season of tiredness, especially now. Again, we're just seeing from a statistical, but just patterns, like the people are, whether it's an elongated season of depression or sadness or frustration or whatever the case may be, or even if it's maybe it's just something that just recently happened, that is true for a lot of people. and kind of looking at Paul in this passage, and he's kind of speaking about this idea of we're seeing him be tired.
Yeah.
What are just some of your takeaways in studying this passage, or just kind of where we've been, and where do you feel like we're going, continuing in the book, that speak to tiredness and speak to how to respond in season of tiredness?
Yeah. One is what we do today is we've taken, okay, I'm tired. I need to rest, and I need to self-care and all of that. And there is something to that, of course.
Sure.
You don't want to constantly run yourself ragged, but if being in a season of tiredness, I think sometimes it's important for us to understand, well, what's the root of the tiredness? Mm-hmm. He saw that he was weak and he was weary. The Lord visited him in it. He didn't stop preaching. He didn't stop doing what he knew his purpose was. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we will step back from what we know God is supposed to has called us to do. Mm. Even in the church, right? We have people that are like, I'm just tired, so I'm going to stop serving.
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
It's reforming your priorities.
Sure.
Because you're prioritizing something else besides maybe what the Lord has designed you to do. So I think, it's getting to that point of, all right, what is making me tired? Is the root of this, is it persecution? Is it just, man, maybe I'm in the wrong field right now. I'm trying to till the wrong field. I need to step into a different field.
Right.
Maybe it's, like we go into seasons of hardship because maybe sometimes God's trying to teach us something. Right. So if you're going through it, he's allowing it. And like Paul, he learned weakness is actually strength.
Right.
Because he let God be strong.
Totally.
He didn't rely on his merits. He didn't rely on, tribe of Benjamin, circumcised on the 8th day, Hebrews. He didn't get to do any of that. In this time, he just had to be like, all right, Lord, I have to rely on you. And any time that I'm in a season like that, it takes me at least a little while for the Lord to again, get my attention, be like, hey, you can be being shaped in this.
Right.
I know you're trying to get out of it real quick, but you can move and you can learn through this, man. And so, not just go through it, but learn through it, grow through it. And so, and not every season of tiredness is like a punishment.
Yeah.
That's
good.
It's not a sin issue, whatever it is. It's it just can be all right. Maybe
sometimes it's a privilege to be tired.
It is. Oh, for sure.
I was just having a conversation with another parent. I think it was at a Thursday night service. And, we're talking about kids and, we got 2 young ones,
Oh, yeah.
And it just hit me in the middle of the conversation. I said, but what a gift it is to be tired.
Yeah.
Because, and there are people that would kill to be, have the tired that you and I are feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, our kids are
Yeah.
wild, and bedtime was crazy, and they wake up in the middle of the night, and yes, not to downplay, what I mean?
No.
But sometimes it's a gift. Sometimes it's a privilege, and it's hard, and yes, you acknowledge it does stretch you and grow you, but at the same time, most blessings and most things that are worth having, they require work, and they do require it. You think about even the Lord. Obviously the Lord doesn't get tired, but you think about he created the heavens and the earth, all creation, 6 days, and he rested. Mm-hmm. It was a privilege.
Yep.
It was, look at what came out of what the work that he did, and then he rested. And so I think, to that point of it's not, I think I always have to look at stuff like that through kind of a prism of is this kind of an external or internal, right? Sometimes it is external, and sometimes there is a tragedy that happens, or there's something that externally happens that is yes, I need to rest. Mm-hmm. This is, wasn't meant to be, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like this wasn't necessarily in the plans. And so, yes, I like rest and, you know, slowing down and whatever the case might be, or just being attentive to what God's doing in that season.
Dependent
And then
upon the Lord.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you ask for God to give you more,
Yep.
right? And to sustain you through that season. And then there's sometimes where it's like, yeah, I'm tired, and it's because it's internal.
Yeah.
And it's because maybe I don't have my priorities right. Maybe
Right.
I'm you know, I'm out of balance. I'm out of order right now.
Yep.
Maybe again, it's I'm tired and I am in order, and it's just I'm just meant to be tired. Like work is just, you know, tiring, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't need, the solution isn't to try and remove the work and tiredness in my life, but it's just recognizing like, okay, that, you know, this is you know, this is just the benefit of that, and you ask God for sustaining for sustainment and for rest. And for him to fill you up.
And, you know, I think too, like if you can step back and reframe your circumstances and see things that you might see as a curse at the moment, or actually it might be a blessing, or the things that are tiring you out, that you're doing so because you're just looking at them wrong. You know, if to your point, you know, when you talked about like, you know, being tired, you got kids and all that stuff. It's actually, I mean, how many people would want that? And there's you know, dear friends of ours go to a church that lost a child. And I made a comment about something about you know, babies crying on airplanes and stuff. And he said, "Oh, what I wouldn't give to hear my baby cry."
Right.
And you go, "Oh,
yeah.
What we might see as an inconvenience or whatever, like, would be somebody else's joy."
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing, all right, Lord, what can you do in this? What can you do through this? Because I mean, even Paul, as he shows up to Corinth, he's got Priscilla and Aquila there. And they've just been booted from Rome. They've just been exiled from their home. Right. Because Claudius, the emperor at that time, didn't want them around. And there's some other stuff that, you know, went into the reason why he did, but now here they are in Corinth because they had to leave their city. Yeah. And who knows how many friends they had to leave behind, or how, as they got scattered, you know, like these, you know, this Jewish couple went this way and this, and, you know, so on and so forth, or the, you know, like, as they were believers, I believe, you know, like how many of their tight knit crew like came with them or not. And so they lose community. Right. But I think what that shows though, is that out of like, sometimes like hardship can actually help within spreading the gospel. They get pushed out, but now Corinth is going to get Jesus. Yeah. You know? Yeah. The hardship and tragedy that you went through is going to maybe speak to somebody, especially the way that you weathered it, the way that you handled your tired, the way that you continue to put your hope in Jesus is going to speak to somebody. Maybe not in that moment or in that season, but it could be even years down the road. Yeah, where people go, "Oh, wow."
Yeah, and I think I want to get to the Corinth piece of that too, but I think from a practical standpoint, I think one thing again to see from this passage, and I think this theme all throughout Scripture, is that again, practically, if you are in a season of tiredness, how often we as people tend to isolate.
Yep.
And really what we're supposed to do is to get around other believers,
yes,
get around other people who will build our faith up. And if you are going to be tired and be in a season where you need to rest and to be refilled, ask God to refill you, but do it around other people. Yeah. And don't isolate yourself. And so oftentimes, again, from like, this is more from like a ministry and kind of church standpoint, and maybe even just from, you know, just a congregational standpoint, you see people who get tired, maybe they get burnt out on church, something happens, whatever the case might be. And then what was supposed to be a short season of tiredness turns into them being out in the desert and walking away from church and walking away from their faith because they isolated. Yes. And so someone hurt their feelings, whatever, you know what I mean? Or something happened, you know what I mean? Misunderstanding, whatever. And that can be legitimate, 100%. But they isolate, they retreat. And what should have been something that was, you know, a frustration that you worked through and you found reconciliation through, turned into something that separated you from the body, separated you from church, separated you from the Lord. Again, I think what's interesting here, you see Paul, right? And so he talks about Aquila and Priscilla,
Yeah.
like those, and you see again all throughout Scripture, he kind of just shouts them out or whatever
Yeah.
the case is. But I wonder how much of their relationship was just forged in seasons of tiredness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Encouraging
yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
And that bond transcends, time and,
Yes.
and seasons and rhythms of life. And I don't think we have enough. I think I just see so often, we don't have people that, like, when you're going through something, when you're tired, that they know, that they sit with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
some of my closest friends, even some of the people in my life that maybe we don't live in proximity super close anymore, as far as like we don't live, I don't see them 4 or 5 times a week anymore.
Sure.
But the level of, just closeness we have is because we have been through some stuff together.
Yeah.
And I know whenever I need encouragement, when I need
They're there.
someone to pray for me or whatever, they're there.
It's those relationships that, like, you haven't seen each other for a year and maybe you haven't even talked for that long, but as soon as you get together, it's like,
Yep.
Yeah.
And they can ask you, hey, how are you really doing?
How are you really doing?
How's it going?
You'll straight tell them.
Yep.
Yeah. You'll be real honest with them.
So I think from a practical standpoint, I do think that people being in community together, especially in seasons of tiredness, is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really important.
No, it's massive.
You talked a little bit about kind of Corinth, kind of a modern day, mirror. Again, we talked about how it's not quite the same, but there is a modern day kind of representation or similarity that we can draw from. It's a city that is dark.
Yeah.
A lot of darkness.
Yep.
A lot of worldly influence and worldly, a worldly pool and stronghold there. And so you look at kind of where we're at in America and where we're at in some of the certain places and states that we live, or certain areas that we're at, whatever the case might be, right? And kind of seeing how Paul addressed, how to be planted in a city like Corinth. Mm-hmm. What are some parallels or just some things you think that kind of stood out to you in looking at Corinth and looking at us today?
Well, I mean, if I think about this, like, if I'm Paul, man, at this point, I'm probably just headed back to Jerusalem to, kick back and, get a little condo on the Sea of Galilee.
There you go.
And whatnot. But no, to stay in Corinth, to stay there for a year and a half, and to not just, like, check out, but like to really continue to build and establish roots and create relationships and all of that. Speaking to today, and thinking about how many places really need Jesus. And if you are a Christian and you happen to be in one of those places, I feel like you've maybe been established and rooted there on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, I joke and kid a little bit about, like, don't move to Texas. Love you, Texas. I really do. I go to Texas a couple times, at least 2 or 3 times a year, usually. Love the people out there, love the churches out there, just love it for sure. But what breaks my heart, again, is when people will leave our city. And again, like, not knowing not everybody is called here.
Right.
But when people leave just because, people don't look like me or talk like me and think like me and believe like me. Mm-hmm. And the evangelist in me, I was like, or the pastor in me, the, apostolic, like, let's build something here in me. Gosh, it wrecks me. Mm-hmm. And again, I get it. Like, if you don't got no money and you're going to retire, Phoenix is a great option. Sure. Yeah. It's still sunny. It's ridiculously hot.
It is hot, though.
You're going to live indoors, or the fact of, like, well, I can't buy a home here and I can buy, 2,000, square foot house.
I have a friend that grew up there and they talked about how they used to have to, in the summer, leave, like, oven mitts in the car.
Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. You have to have the sun thing. Otherwise you won't be able to sit on your your seats, dude. And so, like, knowing, like, okay, I can get that a little bit. I understand that. And then like, well, I can get a bigger house in this area. And they're like, yeah, because you have to live in that house because it's like cold as all get out during the winter and hot and muggy all summer. Like go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Or they like the politics better. If that's the reason, if that's the only reason, it's politics and people and like, I want stuff that's like me, then dear Lord, really?
Yeah.
I think that's opposite of what gospel is and what we see in Acts and what we see in the Bible. Like if it's, hey, I need to protect my kid, and I understand all of that stuff.
Sure.
But I do think that we have to start seeing things from a different solution or seeing things from a different side and understanding there's another solution. Because you're like, well, private school's expensive or homes are expensive and all of that stuff. And it just shows that really a lot of us operate from a scarcity mindset of there's not enough and there's not enough to go around, as opposed to, well, what can we do to make sure we're able to stay here and to be fruitful in this area?
Yeah.
And I'll speak to this kind of unapologetically, but like, people here in California, in Southern California, they will give financially to a church out of margin. Mm-hmm. And because they don't have a lot of margin, they either don't give or they don't give a lot, or whatever it might be. And I think that one speaks again to the mindset that they have of like, oh, because my resources are mine, and as long as they're yours, you're going to have a limited amount. Cool. And I'm not, again, this isn't like prosperity,
sure,
and this is not a prosperity gospel thing. But what I will say though is that like, how many of us really then pray, all right, Lord, I want to stay in this area. Mm-hmm. I want to be fruitful in this area. I want to be able to give generously to our church so we can keep reaching people in this area. Yeah. Lord, is there an idea? Lord, is there an investment? Lord, what is there that I can do? Even though I only make $65K or whatever it might be, in order to like see, something happen.
Right.
And I would be surprised if the Lord didn't answer some of those people and give some of them ideas. And because I'll talk to people and I'm like, how are you guys even here? How are you? Or just those that are making the sacrifices necessary to stay here and keep rocking.
Totally.
And because we have to step back and realize it's my life for the gospel, not the gospel for my life, not the Lord. Like the Lord is, if the Lord isn't like, well done, good and faithful servant. You had a 2,500 square foot home with a 3-car garage. So proud of you.
Yeah.
I don't know I think we should possess land. Side note, I think Christians should own homes. Right. I think we should possess the land.
Right.
The more the merrier. Yeah. And all of it.
Yeah.
But that, like, what is our goal? Mm-hmm. Why is there that goal?
Totally.
Like, I don't own, I rent. I want to own. And part of the reason why I want to own is because I want a piece of Oceanside. Right. I want a piece of North County. Mm-hmm. I love this area. Yeah. Like, I want to be able to be like established here. Mm-hmm. So, I talked to a pastor a long time ago and he said, we're losing a lot of young families because they just can't afford to stay here. And I said, they need to change. He goes, I've tell them they need to change their mindset a little bit. Mm-hmm. That what could we do to make it possible to be here? Right. Because, San Diego's less than 10% churched. Right. Mm.
For sure.
Man, we need Jesus.
Yeah.
And we need families here posted up, showing what Jesus families look like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, again, kind of looking at Paul in this passage, like there's a difference in kind of passing through.
Right.
And then, setting up,
setting up
shop. Right.
Yeah.
And,
for a year and a half, which by the way, I think time moves slower then.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like scientifically, though. This guy's a moron.
Time
stays the same.
Yeah.
But like everything goes so fast for us because we are constant entertainment, constant stuff. But then it's like time, like intentionality. Yeah. You're like, he's there teaching for a year and a half. Right. With the same people, living with the same people, not distracted, not seeing somebody every couple of weeks, but seeing them like almost daily. Right. Like a lot happens in that year and a half.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think like it goes to kind of like, I think to a point you're saying is, I don't think so I grew up in a kind of a different household as far as like faith and like my parents were all about like my parent my parent. I don't think my mom watches this, so it's fine. I'll say my parents, but like my parents were the parents that were like, we're praying for a parking spot. Like they, you know what I mean? Like,
I do that.
My parents were like, no, like the Lord has a parking spot for us, and it's in the front, right?
And it's in the front.
And I feel like as a whole, as a church, we've kind of gone away from some of that, right? But and I say that to say, I don't think that we pray often enough. Like, God, what is your plan for my life?
Yes.
And so, no, parking spot differently, but I do think that, that we've kind of gotten a little bit maybe too strong to the like open door, like whatever, God, just whatever you want, right? And sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he will give you freedom in where you maybe want to live, or what your calling is in your life, as far as maybe where you want to work or school, or this, that, and the other. But I do think more often than not, God does call people to places. Maybe it's for a season, maybe it's permanently, whatever the case might be. But God will call people to a place, to a season, to maybe a group or certain community or whatever the case might be. And I don't think we ask God often enough what that is.
Right.
And so I think you can usurp God's plan for your life, because you may not just ask, you just may not be asking. Or again, you are, to your point, like you said, it's like it's for you, and you want. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to live. This is where I want to, focus on. And I just wonder again if we would just ask the Lord more. God, if God has called you to a place, then God's called you to a place.
Yeah,
and you need to ask the Lord. He'll make that clear. And if he's called you to a place, he'll sustain you. Yeah. And it doesn't mean, again, that doesn't even mean that you all of a sudden be living in, Cardiff by the sea. But, but it does mean that like he will sustain you. Yes. He sustained Paul.
Yep.
He sustained all of his the apostles and his disciples. And again, some of that, even some of that sustaining them, it led them through hard seasons.
Yes.
But he sustained them.
Yep.
And if we are aligning our life to what is most comfortable or what is most in line with our dreams and our hopes, then oftentimes I think we can totally miss what God has for us. And if God has called you to something, even if it's hard, it's way more beneficial for you to follow what he has for you than to follow what you want, even if it's more comfortable.
Right.
And I think that we've traded into comfortable, like, well, because this is comfortable, this is what God has for me.
Right.
And we've traded that in versus being faithful to what he's called and what he has ordained for our life. And there's far more fruit. And I think you said this, or maybe it was right before we were talking, but I'm trying to think exactly the way you phrase it. But sometimes God will sometimes the path that God has for you, it's through a season of hardship. Yeah. And because that's important. Yeah. That like he wants to use that season. And we will bypass that thinking that we've won or we've done, like, this is easy for me. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, but actually that was actually the path that I had for you. Yeah. And you missed out because you were chasing comfort instead of chasing my heart and my will for your life. Yeah. So I just think often I just talk to people like, okay, people will ask these questions, right? Well, where should I live? Or what school should I go to? Or is this the person? And I'm like, have you prayed about it? Like legitimately. Yeah. Like I think we've almost made that like, well, I just pray. No, like has God called you to that? Yeah. And if God's called you to a place, then stay there and ask God to provide for you. Yep. And if God's called you out of a place, then obey him and go where he's called you to go. Yep. But oftentimes I don't think people even have an answer for that question. And I think that's that's worrisome.
No, if God has called you to it, he will sustain you through it.
That's right.
His vision, his provision, and all that different stuff.
Right.
I mean, but it's true. Like, when he says to Paul, like, don't be afraid. Mm-hmm. Keep on speaking. Don't be silent. I'm with you.
I'm with you.
I got you.
That's right.
And in this particular season, you won't be harmed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not true all the time.
Yeah.
But like here, I got you. And so, I think, man, I love that. Pray for parking spaces. It's funny how like, we will limit God all the time. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we might be a little over spiritual. It's like, Lord, what t-shirt you want me to wear today? Yeah. It's like that. Just pick one. I don't know, a shirt. Like, don't go naked out there. Like I've only called a couple of prophets to do that, and you're not one of them. But so we can maybe be over spiritual. But I think too, like it's also, man, when you're with the Lord, you talk to him.
Right.
I pray for parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have parking favor on my life.
That's right.
Like I happen to find spaces up front all the time, but but it's like, well, why, if he dresses the lilies,
That's right.
like how much more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, it doesn't always have to be like a parking space or whatever that thing may be, but like,
Ordain my steps.
yeah, he knows the hairs on my head,
Right.
although they're falling out, but like he knows them, like,
Yeah.
I think, man, just the beauty of that.
Mm-hmm.
That he does. He knows the person of Paul.
He's mindful of me.
He's mindful of you.
Yeah.
Like all of these scriptures that like,
Right.
oh,
And I think, yeah, we do, like you said, it's a scarcity mindset because we limit God, and he might not answer. He might not answer.
He might not,
But he might.
but he might. Might as well ask.
I might as well ask.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
My God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills.
That's right.
So
there's a stake out there for somebody.
I'm asking.
Come on. Exactly,
I'm
dude.
asking.
I'm asking.
Till my cup runneth over.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, those kind of churchy sayings that we joke about, but they are true.
Yeah.
And I trust God with the outcome.
Yes.
And if God says, hey, no, in this season, you are going to be in Corinth, and it's going to be hard, and you're going to be lonely, and you're going to be tired, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'll take that every time. Versus being in Jerusalem, living high on the hog, and I'm all on my own.
Yep. It's been my thing. Yeah. James says that we don't have because we don't ask. But when we do ask, we ask with wrong motives. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times we're like, well, God didn't answer my prayer. And it'd be like, well, what were your motives in it?
Right. That's good. That's a good one.
Is it because you wanted this? Or is it, is it in some way, shape or form going to bless you, bless others?
Yeah.
We have not because we ask not. And when we ask for wrong motives. And so, okay, well, what are my motives in a lot of my asking and a lot of my prayers? Is it just to benefit me? Is it God, bless me, bless my thing, or God, what are you doing? What are you blessing? Let me be a part of it.
Right.
It's I want it now. I want it my way right away. And here's Paul in his mid 40s, hustling, still out there rocking, still out there doing it, tired at this point, but like he just keeps going until he's done.
Right.
Experiencing hardships still. I think sometimes people are like, well, I'm in my mid 40s. I should have this, and this by now. Yeah. And then I'll be like, well, look at Caleb. Bro was 85 years old. And he's like, I'm still as strong as I was when I was 40. Give me that land.
Yeah.
Got to wait. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Dear Lord, that's a minute.
Right.
But we would go, I just heard recently, I don't know how we're getting down this path, but that CEOs, it was on a podcast with Rich Wilkerson Jr. and what's her name? She's phenomenal, incredible communicator. Probably one of the best preachers actually of of this generation. Christine Kane. Yeah, nice. Christine Kane. And she's going into her decade of her 60s, and she goes, that most CEOs of like companies, that's their most fruitful decade.
Wow.
And we have the mindset of like, that's when I want to retire and be done. Oof. Or in ministry, we go, oh, that's when you're old and outdated.
Yeah. Oof.
She's like, no, this is going to be our most fruitful.
Wow.
Fruitful time. Like, could we be okay holding on until 60?
Yeah.
And I know some of our listeners are 60. Love you guys. Keep rocking.
Come on, fruitful. That's right.
But I say that now. Like, man, I said when I was going into my 40s, like my 40s are going to be my most fruitful so far.
Right. Yeah.
And then being mid 40s, going okay, 50s coming up.
Yeah.
50s going to be my most productive decade. I'm going to rock through my 50s.
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward to that. God's going to do something new in my 50s that I've never seen before. Yeah. So I think kind of having that mindset of like, all right, having expectation of the Lord.
Yeah, I love that.
And I almost wonder again, as Paul's rolling into Corinth, if even though tired and weary, if he's like, all right, Lord, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do in the city?
Right.
Because it needs it.
Right.
What if we had that? Like, what if that was what we approached situations with? Of right. Like, the diagnosis, right, Lord? what are you going to do through this?
Yeah.
You know,
That's right. That's good.
you get laid off. All right, Lord, what are you going to do through this?
Mm-hmm.
What do we got around the corner? Let's go, Jesus.
Yeah. Expectation. Yeah.
Expectation, reframing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So good.
Yeah.
We, you're teaching next weekend?
Yeah, I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Where are we going?
So we're gonna finish out 18 and start 19.
Come on.
And it's wild the way the Lord is like lining all this stuff up, you know, like with what took place this last week and what we preached on this week for it.
Yeah.
And then this upcoming week, we've got baptisms. Sign up for baptisms if you're not signed up yet.
Come on.
If you're watching this in real time. And then we have, so we got baptisms. And then, so what we see it's 18, I think it's like 1818 or 1819 through 1910. Chapter 1910 is what we're going to cover. And you see Paul, you see discipleship, like pretty clearly. And because Paul carries out his time in Corinth, and then he brings Priscilla and Aquila with them, leaves them in Ephesus. And then they're able to instruct Apollos, because they meet Apollos. But then there's this idea that anyone Paul's running into has only had the baptism of John, which was simply a baptism of cleansing and repentance. And he's like, oh, y'all haven't had the baptism of Jesus yet, which is we're to go and make disciples and baptize in the name of the Son, of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so we're going to roll into just a kind of a clear picture of baptism and a clear picture of discipleship, and how that plays out and continues to build the kingdom of God. So it's going to be good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it.
Excited.
Hey, thank you guys again so much for watching. I also, again, just want, man, it's so cool, whether it's on a Sunday or whatever, the amount of people that come up and just go, man, this from this episode of the podcast was good. And
matters.
I also want to do a better job shouting out our, we have a strong podcast crew. You and I have a bend towards YouTube.
Yeah, we like
but our
YouTube.
Spotify and Apple podcast crew, you guys are growing strong.
Love it.
And so thanks to everyone who's listening. You got your AirPods and whatever you guys got going on. But man, thank you guys for just encouraging and letting us know you guys are watching and listening.
Appreciate it.
Do us a favor. This blesses you. Copy the link of it. Send it to somebody. Send it to 2 somebodies and say, hey, this blessed me. I think it'll bless you too.
Yep.
And until next week. Oh, I got a word. Everyone gets mad at me when I don't say a word.
Oh, what's the word?
Comment. Hey, comment the word turning point in the comments.
Yeah.
And
turning point. Let's go.
Turning point. And man, we're believing that God is going to use even the darkest seasons for His glory.
Come on.
And until next week, we'll see you guys when I've had more time.